Sorry about that. Okay. Good afternoon. Call to order this meeting of the Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee for Tuesday, February 20th. Are there any conflicts of interest anyone wants to identify? Seeing none. Citizens' comments, third time, citizens' comments, seeing none. 4, consent agenda, minutes of the February 6th, 2024 meeting, bills and payroll.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second from Ed. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Seeing none. There are nothing, we've skipped number 5 because there was nothing removed. Number 6, request to recommend council approval of budget resolution number 03-2024, transferring funds from Fund 235, which is communications, for purchase of studio lighting, presented by Tom Laux, Communication Director. Tom.
Thank you, and good evening. I'm requesting funds out of the 235 fund for new studio lighting to be used in our new build out in the basement here of City Hall for our communications department. Our current lighting that we use is 20 years old and no longer can be purchased, and it's difficult to find parts and bulbs for those now. Also, if we do use the existing lighting that we have, it would require additional support for the hanging of the lights, the wiring, and removal of the current ceiling structure, which has not been discussed in the plan. So just wanted you to know that. I also can't guarantee you the current lighting is going to last much longer. We have continued to make it work since I took over, but it's kind of a hit and miss. We've had some issues with it during some of our programming. So I don't recommend using obsolete lighting in this build out due to the concerns I mentioned and due to the costs later on if we do have to put it in after the time of construction, because then it'll be even more money. The building plans do reference this current lighting, so that has been discussed in the plans with Tom Turchi and as well as our building and maintenance personnel and Katie Nemitz, who has done our review and draft of the plan. We have used lighting on stands, just to let you know, in the past, especially when we started over in room 108 in 2019, but it does increase, if we were to do that, it would increase tripping hazards and electrical hazards and possibly violating our building code of having any cords on the ground. So that may be difficult to do. We were able to get away with it over there, but not saying we're going to get away with it here in City Hall. Our estimated fund balance before this resolution 3-2024 is $83,683.95. And if this would go through, this would be the amount would go down to $62,678.95. And again, this is after all, this is after the $50,000 as well as the full budget that was passed in 2023 for 2024. So I guess I'll take any questions at this time.
Any questions? Okay, is there a motion? Motion.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Seeing none. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, that was number 6. Okay, number 7. Request to recommend council approval of budget resolution number 04-2024, transferring funds from Fund 235 Communications for extension of current lease for space at 630 South Central Avenue. Again, Tom, this is all you.
All right, thank you. Like I say, I'm requesting funds out of the 235 fund for additional 3 months at a rate of $1,434.51, a total of $4,303.53. Currently, the build-out project from the communications department is out for bid as went through the council last week, which was approved. And right now, as you know, we have not completed that process, and we have not received any bids yet because they're still open. So we really are not going to make in time by our lease ends on March 31st, 2024. I'm including this cost of the new monthly rate, which I just mentioned, provided by our landlord, Christy Steinley. She is going to grant us month by month, and we will not have to do a new lease at this time. So we can rest assured that way. The increase will be 3.5% from what we pay now, which is about $40-some. It's a 3.5% CPI rate. Just a little bit more, and then I'll turn it over to any questions you may have. If we have to move out of the current space at City Hall, we probably need to begin soon here. It's getting to that time. The problem with doing that is this month and next month is relatively really busy with election programming, and we have quite a few scheduled, and I really don't want to try to do those in a remote location or here, and I think they're really important programming as we're doing Wood County as well as some of the city council members coming up here within the next few weeks. So that's one of the reasons why I don't want to be moving out in March. And also right now, space hasn't been determined here. If we were to move over here early, we still need to have that figured out by the building coordinator for temporary storage of equipment, because we can't put it in the current space because they would want to be working in there. And we also would need space for David and myself, which we have spoken about a little bit with HR and administration, but we still haven't totally come up with a final solution, I think, on where myself would actually go if we need to do that temporarily. So anyway, I'm recommending that we do 3 months, no more than 3 months at this time, at the cost of $4,303. Any questions?
Natasha?
Tom, I have 2 questions. One, can they start working on this space even though you're over there doing all the programming for the next 2 months? When's the start date for construction?
Well, we don't have a construction date yet because we're still waiting on bids. The bids, I think, are closed. I do have that information here. I did print it out, just so you have it. I believe it's at the end of this month is when bids would close, and it still has to go through approval. It would have to go through, I think, Steve, is that a Board of Public Works and Council?
That's correct. Yeah, Board of Public Works and Council will have to approve the bids. I suspect that the work will begin perhaps as early as later in the month of March and then through April. But I think, being where you are over at that building will be a good thing, and that'll make the transition smoother. As we begin to complete work here, you can start moving things over in the spring to the new location.
Yep. What I'm trying to do is not move twice if we don't have to at this point.
And really adding to what Tom said, I mean, we've had some meetings internally with people here, the building services coordinator and other folks. And the problem is really the amount of equipment and other things you need to store, bringing it over here, because we talked about just get out of there, and then not extend the lease, but there's really nowhere to put some of this stuff without being in the way of existing operations and other uses. So it's cleaner, as much as I don't like spending additional money on this lease, it's cleaner and more effective if we do it this way, I think.
Tom, do you like where you're going to be? Do you like, you had said in the packet that you weren't anticipating needing this new lights because you were anticipating you were going to be in a different space in the basement, but now you're in this newer space, and it had to do something with building maintenance.
Yeah, I could just elaborate a little bit. Yes, I mean, this space is going to be better. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but it costs us more money to do. So I didn't plan on that in 2023. In my recommendations was to hopefully use the existing space we had and use the monies of $50,000 for additional lighting. Unfortunately, we can't use that space according to our maintenance department here due to some reasoning. And they recommended this space. IT felt that it would be a good idea and helpful, and they moved out some of their stuff already. To accommodate that space, we will be sharing space with two IT personnel that are data processors, and that would be fine. But we feel that this will work out really nice, and I would be excited to be a part of the city here, City Hall, because of what we do. So as in some extra space, we're hoping to have a little storage space in one of the rooms that are down there that aren't really occupied. That's to be determined. But even if we had a little space for some extra stuff, and we do have our media room here that we're currently being used. And down the road, we might use that room for some of the storage, because ultimately our broadcasting can be done from downstairs, and that eliminates using that room for just broadcasting. It can be used for community producers and people to come in and get equipment, which is out in the non-locked areas. So hopefully that helps. But yes, we're excited for this. It is more money, but in the long run, it's a permanent space for us, and will save us quite a bit of money down the road, and ultimately getting us involved with other staff at the city, I think is going to be important for both parts of what we do.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, it really, just to add a little bit, it really is an excellent reuse of that space that's been sitting vacant for a long time. The IT department expected to use that for a long time. Their world has changed. They don't need that space. I think the committee is going to be very pleased. I think the committee and the full council should take a tour of the space when it's completed and when they're up and running. I think you'll be pleased with the outcome of this. And again, it'll be nice not to be spending $1,500 a month roughly on lease revenue, or lease, I should say, lease payments to that other building.
Is there anything else? So we are looking for a motion.
Move to approve.
So we have a
I'll
motion
second.
by Brian, second by Andrew. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Seeing none. 8, request to recommend council approval of budget resolution number 05, 2024, revising principal and interest payments in the approved 2024 budget for TIF District 9, number 9, presented by Jennifer Zielinski, Finance Director. Jennifer.
Good evening. Normally, the finance department makes its principal and interest payments at this time of the year. And part of that, when I'm going through and making sure that the payments are accurate, I look at the budget and notice that I didn't budget properly in bid 9. If I put myself back in time, I think I caught it at the time and I thought I updated it, but maybe didn't save. So regardless, that's how the error occurred. Just as a side note, the TIF increment pays for this debt service. There's plenty available in TID 9. It's just a matter of correcting those two expense accounts for the principal and interest payments. So with that, I would recommend approval of budget resolution 05-2020.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none. Number 9, request to recommend council approval to refill vacant part-time senior coordinator position for Parks and Rec, presented by Amanda Bruce.
Sorry, I'm Amanda. I'm the recreation manager at the Parks and Rec department. Today I'm looking for approval to fill our senior coordinator position. Our most recent senior coordinator was wonderful. She was with us for 2.5 years, and she gave adequate notice upon her separation. The senior coordinator is a permanent part-time position in our department that kind of oversees the senior center and coordinates their programs, sets up senior talks, meals, that kind of stuff, and also implements new programs for the seniors as well. She also attends committee meetings, senior center council meetings, and helps with some of the bigger events that I do over there. In addition, she helps with department needs as far as customers, like in person and on the phone, building tours, and that kind of stuff. So we're just looking for approval to get that filled as soon as possible. It's about 25 hours a week.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Andrew, go ahead.
Thank you. Just one quick question. I was reading the memorandum that was sent out, and it says that the position has been since reevaluated. What exactly did that entail, I guess? Because to me, when first reading it, when I hear reevaluated, I'm thinking, okay, we thought twice and pulled back from it. Obviously, I'm reading that wrong. What did it all entail?
And maybe it wasn't written totally properly, but all it meant is that she kind of had a certain flexibility to her hours that we allowed for. So we wanted to put into place kind of a set schedule. And then other ways that we can help that person help the seniors and our department too. So it just took a little bit of time to review exactly what we're looking for from that position and the hours.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Does anyone else? Brian?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. What was that, Ed?
Nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I seen you raise your hand. Here we go. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Number 10, request to recommend council approval of resolution number 2024-09, adopting 2024 seasonal pay scale presented by Sarah Dressel, Human Resources Director. Sarah?
Thank you. Good evening. So in the packet, I did put the 2024 proposed seasonal pay schedule. Couple of very minor changes requesting for 2024. One is moving the park patrol from the police department section, which is on page 2 of the pay scale, and just putting it into the grade 5 on the pay scale. So it was kind of moving just so that it stays in line with that. And then officials for the Park and Recs department will be updated, refereeing officials, to only designate that they're either non-certified or certified versus youth non-certified, adult non-certified, that type of thing. So it's just keeping it more basic to non-certified or certified. And then really, as far as the pay ranges go, no change for 2024 outside of the move for Park Patrol. So staff is recommending that Finance, Budget, and Personnel Committee recommend approval for payroll resolution number 2024-09, seasonal pay rates that will be effective on February 28th of 2024. And if there's any questions.
Brian?
Do the school districts help pay for the crossing guards or do they not?
They do not at this point. They are now paying half the cost of the liaison officers, but we're still paying the full freight of the crossing guards. We kind of broached that with them gently, but the real interest on their end was funding half of the school liaison officers at this time.
Thank you.
Natasha?
So I'm just wondering why the Park Patrol needs to be moved. Is it because they aren't paid? I guess I just need an explanation of why it's getting moved.
Sure. When we had our discussion this year with all of the department heads and things like that, that was a request from Chief Goering to move them to that, just so that it's a little more uniform with how we do steps. He felt like they would fit nicely into the pay grade 8 or 5 of that scale. So that was a request by him.
So before that, were they considered unionized workers or?
Nope.
So before they weren't based on a pay scale, was it just like what was it before?
So before, it was listed under the police department, page 2. Mm-hmm. And what it was is it gave a small scale. I should have pulled that up, and I apologize if I didn't have that in the packet. But basically it was, I believe, $10 to $11 with a few steps in between. This would just be moving it into the lowest pay grade that we have, and then incorporating the 6 steps versus what was listed.
And you might have said this, or even in the packet. My computer won't connect to the internet, but anyhow, I'll look at Brian's. So it might be in the packet. So when they moved to step 5, is there a difference in wage?
So there will be now. It's slight, and I believe they have recurring people that are typically in the park patrol. So my guess is they're probably already more towards the lower part of that scale. This would just give opportunity for people that kind of are recurring and come back to be able to continue to get steps, hopefully allowing them to return year over year.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything further from the committee? Would anyone like to make a motion? Motion by Ed, second by Andrew. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Seeing none. Number 11, request to recommend council approval of revised city policy number 3-334 dress code presented by Sarah Dressel, Human Resources Director.
Thank you.
Sure.
So in the packet, I did have a red line version of this and a clean version to give some highlights of some of the kind of notable updates and changes. This is really taking business casual attire still being expected for public meetings and for appropriate meetings and other interactions that employees would have. So business casual attire would not completely be going away. Casual attire would be acceptable, including jeans throughout the work week. It's successfully been tested on Fridays. It's done currently right now with little issue or complaints basically since it's begun. And then T-shirts and large logos, wording, or pictures are reserved for Fridays only, which is a little bit of a change. Monday through Thursday, T-shirts would be plain, only with small logos like a Nike swoosh or Under Armour. And then sweatshirts, crew and hooded, would also be reserved for Fridays only. So this is really came about as part of some of the comments that came out of the employee survey and some of the things that we discussed with the Employee Satisfaction Committee, in that it's, again, some of those items that aren't necessarily a budget cost. It's obviously very budget neutral, but it also keeps in line with a lot of what's going on in other communities, which is being more flexible as far as dress code and things like that go. Some of the places that have put a lot more information out there around dress code that we kind of looked at for examples just to see what's out there. One was, we looked at Green Bay, one was Wausau, I believe, one was Appleton. But they've adopted some forms of similar things that we were looking at for here as well. So again, still the expectation of, clean appearance, neat appearance, that type of thing, but just gives more flexibility in what you're wearing based on what type of day you're going to be having. Here. Staff is recommending that Finance, Budget, and Personnel recommend approval of updates to policy 3.335 for approval by Common Council, and I can answer any questions that you might have.
Ed, Andrew.
Thank you. Just two, I guess, probably comments / questions there. The first thing that stuck out to me on 1B, the inclusion of capris. Obviously for women, that's very appropriate, but I would say if I were to wear capris, you'd probably be wondering why I'm wearing those. So we might want to either nix capris or specify it a little bit just to clean it up so there isn't a situation down the road. I don't think anyone here at City Hall is going to try to push that, but someone eventually could, and just kind of saves us a headache. And then probably more importantly, there was one, if I can find it, basically talking about the wearing of clothing that has a business's logo or name on it. Right now, the way it's written, it says, if you're a person, basically, I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, but if you have any influence in the decision, you shouldn't be wearing that when meeting with someone. I would probably say just better safe than sorry. We might as well just say, just don't wear that, period. Even if you're not the decision maker, because if you're in a meeting and someone walks by wearing it, it might give the impression that, okay, you're supporting this or that, when could just be some freebie that you got, but it still potentially can create that illusion of it that we probably want to. And that's it. Thank you.
Sure. One thing, actually, after we spoke earlier, just with regard to that, I kind of went back and looked overall at, it's very gender neutral, I don't know, throughout. And I apologize because I thought of this afterwards. And really, truly, one of the things that we were pretty specifically looking at for this policy was actually being a lot more gender neutral, more or less just because of law and things like that. So I think definitely the one for unacceptable attire for the contracted or even potential contracted vendors, things like that. I definitely think that we can make that update. I have no issue with that. I think with capris, that's either probably going to need to be something that we completely take off or leave on and just assume that if male or female decides to wear capris, that we would be okay with that. So I would look to this group for the specific direction on that.
Andrew, do you have any follow-up?
No, I mean, obviously I'll defer to you on that as far as the gender neutral part of the policy. I'm not going to be trying to tell you how to do it. But yes, I guess if you think that's fine, we can leave it as such, and then just make the only change I'd suggest would be the one about the companies.
Perfect.
Natasha?
Thank you. Again, I'm sorry, I don't have the policy in front of me. Was there anything that said no offensive language? Is there anything about political language? Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep. Brian, did you have a question?
No, I'll make a motion to approve it with Mr. Ragel's one change that he suggested to.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. I have just one thing. Did you have anything in there about City of Marshfield logo? That's okay to wear on any day of the week?
So it probably would fall under anything with a small logo or wording. It would fit, so that would be allowable.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Yep, good call, thank you.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Seeing none. Passes. 12, response to request made by Alderperson Tompkins regarding staff turnover, also presented by Sarah Dressel.
Thank you. So I'm going to have to ask for a part 2 to this. So I'll talk a little bit about it. And then, so I'll start by saying more of my reasoning is because once I started to go down the rabbit hole of turnover, it took me into a lot of different directions that I think will be very applicable, but I also didn't want to cut it short because I think this is going to actually be a really good measurement for us that I have every intention then of kind of keeping up as I do with the personnel actions form and the monthly position control report, because I think it's good information that really showcases how we're doing as far as turnover goes. So what I didn't add in here originally in the analysis section is really all the different ways that you can present turnover to kind of really tell the best story of like how you're doing overall. So the one very easy way to describe turnover is really just taking the number of separations and you divide that by the average number of employees, you multiply that by 100, there's your rate. But the reality of it is that that isn't always like the picture, because you can really narrow that down to this is how it is for, I think in general, that's good as like the high level. But then when you can break it down into per department, you can really narrow in, do you have, you know, a major turnover issue in a specific department, or, you know, is it something else? As well as breaking up the reasons why. I think it's important important. Sometimes some attrition is not bad attrition or turnover. And so I think it's good to identify all of those things, but that is going to take me just a little bit more time because I'm going to be looking back at like exit interviews and things like that to really kind of give more of like a better picture. So my plan is to provide an overview look of 2023 as a whole, and then monthly for 2024 moving forward, just so that you can have that bigger picture month over month. So I just need a little extra time, so I apologize. I didn't have all of that for us tonight, but I want to give a really good picture because I think it's good information. So if you'll be allowable, I will bring an additional report this next finance budget as well.
Natasha, do you have any opposition to that? All right. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
So we'll look forward to that whenever you have that available. Suggested items for future agendas. Natasha?
Okay, so I'll give a little context. And again, I'm learning a lot being on the Utilities Commission and just how they run that utility. So one of the things that they have is that they have a goal that when they do a phishing email test, that 0% of their employees will click. And so that made me wonder, do we ever even have those sort of tests that go out? And then I was wondering what our percentage is. So I don't know if that's a future agenda report or if you would actually know and you don't need to give us that report.
I can just tell you that we do that regularly, and maybe the best way is just to send out an email to all of you with a report like that. And if you have questions, we can talk about it later, but we do that.
Thank you, Steve. Is that everything you were looking for? Okay. Is there any other suggested items? All right, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Andrew, second by Brian. With that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.